Sometimes all you want to do is get home.
Well, go on, the superhero son.
To the place where you feel safe, where it's all your own.
Hi, girl.
Hi, Dad.
NHT, the key to your home, has home buyer and home builder loans to help you get home. And if you're planning to fix up the home you have, our home improver loans will help bring those ideas to life. With the NHT, there are more possibilities for you to get home. The NHT, the key to your home. There are more possibilities for you to get home.
Hey, money makers, and welcome to a special Monday night show right here on Money Media's YouTube channel. Now, a lot of you want to own a home, and for homeowners and potential homeowners, the NHT is usually one of your first stops, if not the first stop. It's usually your best bet if you're trying to find especially an affordable home. So we're talking today about a bunch of new measures that are in effect at the NHT. They came into effect on July 1. And if you recall, these were announced by the Prime Minister back in the budget speech all the way back in March. And now we are here to discuss these new changes and how they affect you and your money and your chances at owning a home. So in studio with me today, inside the Money Studio, I'm joined by two representatives of the NHT. We have with us Assistant General Manager Dwayne Burbick.
Hi, Kalila.
And also Administrative Support Manager Shara Luke Cooper. Hi, Shara.
Hi, Kalila.
And welcome.
Thank you.
For you, it's welcome back.
Always a pleasure being back. Yes.
I didn't realize you get promotion.
I think I had that title the last
Oh,
time.
you did?
Here,
Okay,
man.
my bad.
But we always have a lot to talk about. We forget that.
Absolutely, for sure. All right. So like I was mentioning in the introduction, on July 1, a bunch of new measures came into effect at the NHT. We have quite a few things to go through. So I'm just going to hand it over to you guys and just walk us through these new measures.
Okay. If I could start,
Sure.
Shara, by just indicating that, as you mentioned, they came into effect July 1. And the measures, if you look at them on a whole, you see different changes, whether they are new products in some instances, expansion of some products and adding additional purposes and purchasing power behind some of them by increasing loan limits. But you will see all our categories of beneficiaries and customers seeing something in those changes that took effect July 1. So there's something in it for the person who's looking to buy. There's something in it for the person who's looking to build. There's something in it for the person who is already a homeowner and is looking to make improvements to that property. And I have a sweet one. Refunds for for existing mortgages. I know that's been a vexed issue for quite some time. And so I'll hand over to Shara to probably just take you through some of the main ones as it relates to loan limits, a kind of summary as to what they are. And we can delve deeper as we go on.
Okay, and just before you start, Shara, just letting you know that you guys can ask your questions in the live chat. I know you have a bunch of questions for NHT. You're always in my inbox asking me like if me work at NHT, they work at NHT. So leave your comments and your questions in the chat. So go ahead.
It's our pleasure to share with your viewers, Kalila, and with you, of course. So Dwayne would have categorized it into three categories. If you want to own it, if you want to buy, if you want to build, and if you want to improve. So let me start with to buy. So basically that is our open market loan product. So if you identify it as a house on the open market or a lot, then we have the financing for you. Purchasing on the open market, now it was 7.5 million as a single applicant, and that was increased to 9 million as a single applicant. If you're co-applying with one other person, so two persons co-applying, then that is now $17 million. And if three persons want to come together, of course, it is about kinship ties. So if it's spouses, parents, spouses, parents, and offspring, siblings, then you can come together. Three persons purchasing a property or constructing a property with 2 bedrooms or more, then you can get up to $23 million to help to finance that project, right? For those a single individual who wants to purchase something on the open market, once you have identified a property and it is being sold for $14 million or less, then we can give you up to $12 million in financing to purchase that property, right? For our house lot persons, so you have identified a plot of land on the open market and you want to go for it. If it is that you're a single applicant, then you can access financing up to $5 million to help with that purchase. If you are co-applying 2 persons, it's $7 million, and 3 persons, then it's $10.5 million, right? To build.
Okay, so number one, increases in the loan limits
Right.
for buying.
Buying.
Right.
Number two,
Number
increases
two,
in the loan limits for land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 2B or 1B.
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 Okay.
Right, and 2, it's to build. So
right.
exciting things for our persons who want to build. That is where the major, you will realize the major increase. So previously it would have been a single applicant, it would have been 7.5 to build. So if you have land, you come into us, you want to construct, 7.5 previously, now that has gone to $11 million for a
Ooh.
single applicant, right?
That is a big increase.
That's a big increase, right?
Almost over 40% increase.
Wow.
Increase, right? For our persons who are co-applying now, 2 persons, it's 17 million, 3 persons, 23 million. So that is consistent. The 17 for the double applicant and the 23 for the triple applicant is consistent for those 2 benefit types, to buy and to build, right? So we have some persons, however, who they need financing to help with purchasing the lot.
Mhm.
So after you would have purchased the lot, so you'd have, say for a single applicant, you would have gotten your $5 million, sorry, to purchase the lot. Then you will get the difference up to the 11 million to help you to construct. Similarly, if you would have come in with somebody else, 2 persons, accessing the 7 million, then you will get up to the 17 million to construct. And 3 persons would get up to the 23 million to construct.
Is that's not the same as the limits to buy a house? It's less.
It's the
It's
same
the same.
for
It's the
the
same. It's the
double
same.
and
It's for the
triple
double-
Okay,
the double
applicants.
and
that's what I
triple.
thought. I'm like, these numbers
Yes.
sound familiar.
Yes,
Yeah,
so it's the
17
same.
So you
and-
can get the same amount if you're whether you're buying or building.
Or building.
Or building.
Okay.
For double.
Okay,
For
and
double
it
and
didn't
triple
used to be the
applicant.
same.
Yes,
Yes,
it was always the
it
same. The
was?
difference is for the single applicant, where
Okay.
that moves from 7.5 to
7.5.
$11 million, whereas for the individual who's buying, it moves from 7.5 to $9 million.
Okay.
And if I could preempt the conversation a little bit, it shows the NHT putting more effort or power, rather purchasing power, behind those who are looking to construct.
Right.
We see property prices, and some individuals have based on the conversations, we're seeing the interest to do more construction rather than to do buying. And so we're putting a push behind those individuals by giving them a little bit more to boost their ability to build something that is comfortable and habitable.
Do you get more applicants for buying or building?
We get more for
buying now.
For buying.
For buying now.
Yes.
Right. So we want to push the market for building because
Ah.
land is available. It may not be where some persons want it, but
Mhm.
it is available, and we want persons to just look at the other options because most persons are concerned with just buying on the open market, and that may be outside of your reach. But we are saying there are other options that you can explore, towards your home ownership.
All right. So quick summary so far. Number one, increases in the loan limit to buy property or land, or house or land. And number two, increases in the loan limit to construct, a property. All right.
And
let's
number
go.
3, it's for our homeowners. So that is to improve. So we have 2 types of homeowners. So we would have had those who own home residential property and they have never accessed a benefit from the National Housing Trust. They can
Not
access,
even to purchase the home?
not even to right independent. So they would have acquired the house or the home
Without
independent of
accessing
NHT. Right.
Okay.
So
but
now
they contributed.
but they contributed and they are contributing. So
I wonder why they never access the benefits.
for a number of reasons. You have persons who their spouse owned property, so they never saw the need. Their names would have been added to the title, so they never see the need to. And some people just think, we can do it independent, so let's get it done.
Okay.
But we are saying what is critical is that you need to maintain your asset, and so you can get a home improvement loan for those persons. It's now $5 million per person.
Okay.
All right, $5 million per person.
And what was it before?
3.5.
Okay.
3.5.
Nice
so that's
increase.
a nice increase, right? And then now we have those who would have gotten financing from NHT to acquire the home that they have, right? And previously, after 10 years, they could come back to us. Now we have reduced that to 7 years,
Mhm.
and they too can also access as an individual 5 million to help to improve that property.
Yeah, that's helpful, especially given hurricane season and the frequency of storms now. You might
Definitely.
need it before the 10.
I mean, it's an investment, and
Right.
so a part of the NHT's goal and mission is not just to help the first-time homeowner to acquire that property, but having acquired it, you have to also maintain that investment. And so over time, we would have seen that term before being able to access a second loan from the NHT move from 15 to 10. Now we're at 7. So in keeping with the changes as it relates to the environment, as you indicated, Kalila, but also in keeping with our contributors and our, in this case, our existing mortgagors' needs as well.
Okay, so that's number 3.
That's number
Increases in the loan limits for home improvement.
Right.
Let's take our first question from YouTube, from the audience. So Favored Sweet Pea wants to know, for individuals with existing loans, will the increase be readily available for those individuals to access extra funds for a construction loan?
Okay, so if it is that you're a new customer, then those limits or these limits are now applicable. Once it is that you have an existing loan, you would not be able to benefit from the new loan ceiling. However, what we do have is maybe am I preempting? We have a benefit for persons who they would have access, say, a construction loan or a build-on-own land loan, and they are earning up to 30,000 weekly, and for whatever reason those units are uninhabitable, then we are now giving these persons an opportunity, subject to affordability, to get additional financing to complete those structures that they have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There are lots of questions and comments, but let's continue with number 4.
All right. So number 4, what I will go to is our home grant, right? And we have had changes to our home grant to improve the offering for our home grant. So previously, if you were earning between minimum wage and $18,000 weekly, then those were the persons who would be considered for home grant. What we have done is we have expanded the income bracket for persons who can benefit from home grant. So now if you're earning between minimum wage and $30,000 weekly, then you can be considered for a home grant.
What is a home grant?
So a home grant is, can I say free money?
It is what it is.
But it is a grant. So it is a grant that we give if you have been contributing to the NHT for 7 years or more, you're a current contributor, and you need a top-up. So you have identified a property, but somehow you need a top-up to help you to complete the transaction, to complete the sale, or to complete the construction. Then we can consider you for additional financing that you're not required to repay. So you will have your loan.
Free money.
Yes, it goes along with the loan, though. I know I get the question sometimes. I can get the grant. No, you can't get the grant, right? So it goes along with the loan, because when you really do the loan calculation for those individuals Shara indicated who are in our lowest income band, as we call them, many times their affordability doesn't take them to the NHT's loan limit of $9 million. So it's giving those contributors as well a boost to get to at least the $9 million in most instances. So that's your loan plus an additional $3.5 million that the NHT will provide to assist you with your home ownership goals.
Wait, the $3.5 million is the grant?
Is the grant, yes.
Well, that's a big grant.
Yes, $3.5 million. Yes.
And what? Okay, repeat what you have to do to qualify for this grant.
You have to be in our lowest income band, meaning you're earning less than $30,000 weekly, and that's one of the expanded provisions that we're looking at in this round of changes, because previously it was 18,000. Now we're at 30,000. And a little bit of insight, majority of our contributors actually fall in that 0% income band, earning less than $30,000 per week. So a significant number of Jamaicans will now be able to tap into that home grant facility that the NHT has, providing earn less than $30,000 per week, and you've been contributing to the NHT for 7 years.
7 years, okay. If you are pooling with a family member, so let's say my child and I are both applying together, my child or one of the parties meets that requirement, they fall below the threshold, can we still get the grant if the other person is still above the threshold?
Fabulous question. So what we do is we have what is called average income.
Mm.
So when we average the weekly income, if that average income falls within the income band for the grant, then you can be considered for the grant. Right.
Okay.
So when
And the driver behind the grant, Kalila, is need. If you need it, and you mentioned 2 individuals co-applying, because sometimes when that happens, there's more purchasing power, and perhaps that brings you closer to not just the NHT's 9 million loan limit, but closes the gap as it relates to purchasing the property. So if with the 2 incomes you close that gap, then there's no need for it.
Right.
Okay.
But as Shara indicated, when we do look at the incomes of both individuals, and we also look at what exactly these 2 people are trying to achieve, then the extent to which up to that 3.5 million that is required, the NHT will make it available.
Because I was like, loophole.
No, we thought about it. We thought about
Just
it.
roping somebody who's not making a lot of money. Get the free grant. Get the grant. All right, so number 4.
So number 4 that I will go to is...
I think we're at 5 now, you know.
But
that
Because
was
I think
4.
4 was a home grant.
4 was the home
Yeah,
grant.
you're right.
Okay, so
5.
number 5 that we can go to is the reduction in the service charge, right? So you have the basic loan that you get. So for example, you're purchasing something on the open market, and now it is $9 million. That attracts us well. Attracted, if you were doing it prior to June 16th, or July 1, it would attract a service charge of, if it is that you were earning in the 0%, it would have been 2. And everybody else earning in excess of 30,001, it would have been 5%. So we have reduced that service charge. It's an add-on to the basic loan that you pay over the life of the loan, right? So that is what it is. Now, if it is that you are in the 0%, then it is a 0% service charge.
So you get no service charge.
No service
no
charge.
interest
So
and no service
right,
charge.
So you'd have saved $180,000 if you were borrowing $9 million, right? So if you're in the 2%, or 2%ers are those earning 30,000 to 42,000 weekly, their service charge is now 2%, right? And everybody else, it remains at 5%.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Number 6.
Good.
How many do we
Is
have, by
number
the way?
6? I think we're coming to the...
We're winding down nicely.
Because I did speak to the provision for our construction and build on own land loan persons. But the beauty of that too is that it has a home grant component. So it is specific to our current mortgages, or if you're retired, earning 30,000, and you notice we keep saying the 30,000 because we're looking at those in our lowest income band, 30,000 or less. And I said, if it is that when you access your loan amount, for whatever reason, you were not able to complete your construction project, and so it is uninhabitable. So you can access up. The first thing we look at is a loan. So if it is that you can afford a loan up to the new ceiling, if you're single, up to the 11 million, then we will give you a loan. If it is that based on your income and you realize that where persons who are older, because the loan tenure, the time that you get to repay the loan is less, it affects your affordability. So when we do the assessment, if it is that you can access a part of a loan, but it still will not complete to give you a habitable 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom structure, then we can look at giving you a grant as a top-up. And for those who are so, based on the circumstances, the variables, they can't afford a loan, then we can look at also giving them a grant to complete their unit so that they can, really come into home ownership.
Okay, let me take our second question from YouTube. Sure. This one is from Donilla Morris. What if you have an existing property but want to build on the same land? What is the maximum we can get to construct on existing property? The loan facility is with NHT.
Right. So if the loan facility is with NHT and you're constructing on the existing property, then we consider you a co-applicant, and the maximum that can be had would be the 17 million.
17 million.
17 million.
Okay.
So we would have to do some calculations, because we'd have to see what the loan balance is for the existing loan. And then because we can't, for co-applicants, we can't book a loan that is in excess of 17 million for 2 persons coming in.
Okay.
So we'd also have to look at how much the
Other
person who did the initial loan and doing the initial construction also access from the NHT to look and determine how much in additional financing we'll be able to provide up to that 17 million. Also looking at the affordability of the two individuals as well.
Next question is from Royston Brown. If you get the buy land loan already, so this is the loan to buy land.
Right.
If you already got that, and now you're going to apply for the construction loan, will I get the new amount which is quoted now?
Yes. The difference.
Okay.
The difference up to the 11.
The difference between the buy land loan and the construction loan.
Right.
Oh, so you won't get the full construction
No, you won't get
amount.
the full, right. So it's the difference. So
And-
once
Go ahead.
So once you would have come into us and you would have received financing for the house lot, then what you get is the difference up to, as we would say, the byland loan, which is for single applicants.
I had to read that a couple times.
Yes. That would be for single applicant up to the 11 million, 17 co-applicant, 23 triple.
Okay. All right. So
Yes.
number 6.
So number 6, we can move to the smart energy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let
you
me
do
give you a
have
break
notes.
and I take
I
that
was
one.
like, I'm coming here with all these new things and nobody has any notes. Like you guys have this stuff
I could take the
memorized.
notes and she'd still be that good, I promise you.
I was very impressed. Still am.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about our smart energy loan product. It's a product that we're particularly proud of. We introduced it last year, which is a maximum loan amount then of $1.5 million to assist individuals with their renewable energy efforts. So not just restricted it to solar, but for individuals who are doing rainwater harvesting facilities or other energy generating equipment and facilities outside of solar. Once you're tried, tested, proven, and we are assured it's a good investment, the NHT made up to $1.5 million available to those individuals at an interest rate of 5%. Did some more consultation on that one, and we came back with an improvement to that particular loan product. So first thing we did, we have increased the loan amount from 1.5 to $2.5 million that you can now use for solar or any renewable rainwater harvesting facility. And we've also looked back at that interest rate and moved it from that flat 5% interest rate to pegging the interest rate according to individuals' income bands. And we shared them earlier, which now means that your interest rate for smart energy loans can be either 0%, 2%, 4%, or a maximum of 5%, depending on where your income falls. And it's a product we're particularly proud of because previously individuals had to choose, do I use my homeowner's loan for improvements to my property, or do I use it to put the solar panels on the roof? Again, a listening organization, and we heard that kind of feedback and decided to separate the two products. So you can still have your $5 million homeowner's loan to make improvements to your property, and you can now access $2.5 million for solar or any other type of renewable. And if you want, you can actually put both together and access up to 7.5 million for renewable energy and rainwater harvesting systems.
Oh, okay. So if your bill comes up to more than the 2.5, just apply for both loans.
That's
Right.
correct.
Home improvement and renewable
smart energy. Yes, I would recommend you do that at the same time. Yeah, but of course, do your estimate, consult with a professional to see how much do you require and what type of system, what size system. And then you can determine whether you need to apply for just a smart energy or both.
I'm loving this. Oh, yes. This is very, very valuable information.
Yes. And another one, while I have the floor, is the contribution refunds now for persons who are mortgagers, who are private sector mortgagers. So previously, the NHT coming out of negotiations and arrangements with unions representing public sector workers and the government, the NHT provided a refund of contributions to mortgages in the public sector, and the other private sector mortgages would have their contribution refunds once due applied as a credit to their mortgage account. Since July 1, effective July 1, those private sector mortgages can now, in fact, apply for their contribution refunds. So what the NHT did for all of those that we applied since January, Control Z, undo, reversed all of them. And now those private sector mortgages will have the option of either applying for the refund of the contributions or indicating to the NHT that they want that applied to their mortgage account. Because in fact, there is some benefit there. If you want it applied to your, it is applied to your principal rather. And so it cuts down on those interest payments on a monthly basis over time. So I know some individuals still want to have it applied to their mortgage account. If that's the case, just reach out to us and let us know that that's your preference. Otherwise, go right ahead and put in your application for a refund of those contributions.
Good stuff.
And
Good
for
to know.
2017.
For 2017, yes.
Okay. Okay. Next question comes from, where is it? I saw it just now. All right. Compilations daily. This does not apply to the new measures that you just mentioned. This person says, I work remotely as a freelancer and would like to pay NHT. How can I go about it? I haven't contributed since last year, about 13 months. Can I pay those funds up and begin contributing again?
You can, but I would recommend you visit one of our NHT branch officers and have a conversation with one of our compliance team members. But you would be required to register as self-employed, and you can pick up making those contribution payments. And within 6 months, after 2 quarterly payments, or self-employed contributors, they make contribution payments on a quarterly basis. And once the individual who asked the question has satisfied making 2 quarterly payments, they would actually now become accessible for an NHT loan. But my recommendation, go in and have a conversation with one of our compliance officers, and we can help you to determine how much far back those payments should go if necessary.
Okay. You guys mentioned, while discussing all the changes, you mentioned the term open market property. What's the difference between that and an NHT development?
So the open market property is the property that an individual sees on a day-by-day basis.
So
you're driving, and you see the for sale sign by a private individual, a private developer. That's what we consider open market vis-a-vis those developments that are done by the NHT, which are our schemes units.
Scheme unit.
We've been talking a lot about the numbers, what the increases are, how much you can access now. And it's great that it's been increased. First of all, hand that to you, hand that to the government and whoever is in charge of making these decisions. But how are the numbers actually arrived at? Because when I look at the listings, especially Kingston and St. Andrew corporate area, 23 million. Where can I get? Havendale? No. Where? Kingston, some teenage number, probably.
These numbers aren't, picked out of a hat. They are carefully thought out because the NHT has to do a balance. We have to ensure that our loan limits at the end of the day, they are realistic with a view to what contributors can afford, and realistic that it doesn't cause further disruptions to the market. And so we have a great team in corporate and business strategy that crunches those numbers for us every time. The advantage we have is that we know we have all the employment data of all the individuals who contribute to the NHT. So we know where affordability levels are, and those loan limits that you hear us speak about. It's data driven and not just based off vibes. And no, the house prices are a little ridiculous, especially in some areas like Kingston and St. Andrew. But remember, we are serving a wider population I know there's a significant number of our population that live in urban areas, but we have to ensure that, it reflects not just the distortions that we are seeing here. And we could always get into a debate as to how real some of those house prices that we see quoted are, and not my place to do that. just to say that when we put our loan limits on the market and we make the offering to our contributors, they're well thought out and they're data driven.
Is it like a national average? Because we know Kingston and St. Andrew price is just, like you said, ridiculous. But elsewhere, there are some more reasonable, more affordable
elsewhere,
prices.
I mean, if you look at the housing, the build out of housing, we will see most of the construction activity in a St. Catherine, in a Clarendon, in a St. Anne, where prices, St. Anne inching up a little.
St. Anne prices, US dollars, first of all.
But go Manchester, I mean, you see prices reflected differently. And the loan limits also reflect the realities of other contributors and not just the ones in Kingston and St. Andrew. $11 million for the individual who lives in St. Elizabeth who already has land is a lot of money to do a lot of construction. So too, if you perhaps live in Manchester, so too, if you live in Clarendon. And so we have to ensure that there is that delicate balance that we have to create at all times, that we're not adding further distortions and complications to the market.
Speaking of the high prices of properties, I'm sure you're anticipating this one. There's so many calls for more affordable housing. Ooh, what is the NHT doing there?
Okay, happy to answer that. You will hear us quote all the time 43,000 new housing starts that the NHT is looking at building out. We do realize that most individuals, through the financing from the NHT and probably the financing from your mortgage institution, whether that's a bank or credit union, people have purchasing power. The question is always, what will they buy? And so the NHT's response is a combination of the new loan limits that you hear us talking about this evening, but also building out the supply side of the NHT as well. And so 43,000 new housing starts is a target in the medium term. And that's through a combination of NHT projects that we're doing on our own and projects that we're able to do through partnerships, whether under our guaranteed purchase program or our developers program with private players in the housing market. I'll give you an example. About 2 weeks ago, we broke ground for a project in Longville Meadows in Clarendon that we're doing with Gore Developments. And we're looking at probably over 2,000 new 1 and 2 bedroom units. The price point is sweet. I don't want to preempt those, but it's a sweet price point, but a $23 billion investment that the NHT is able to achieve with a private developer. And so quite a few of those projects are under construction at the moment. We perhaps have over 8,000 housing units under construction in most parishes across Jamaica. Of course, all 8,000 of them won't come in at the same time. So based on at different levels and different stages of construction, we're building out that 43,000 housing starts. And so our contributors in the next few months, next year especially, is a year where we see most of those projects that are currently under construction will begin coming to the market. But we are responding on the supply side as well as we are responding on the mortgage financing side.
I saw an ad for land in Cherry Garden
for $3 million.
For $3 million. I was like, what? And then
and the NHT's loan limit is $5 million for the purchase of land.
And then I realized it's Cherry Garden, St. Catherine. It's not the Cherry Garden.
We got a lot of feedback on that one.
Yes. But it's an area where this is probably our second project in that area.
Where is that?
It's Kidston Town.
Kidston Town.
Okay.
Area, that's St. Catherine.
Yeah.
Dovecot, that side going up.
Yeah. So we're slowly building out, and so individuals will see more of those intakes pop up. Just apply and keep applying.
Yes.
Next question is from Dahlia Smith, who wants to know the repayment period for the SMART loan.
Oh, I didn't say that.
No,
it's
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Oh,
or
not bad at
870,
all.
whichever is less. So if you're an older applicant, or 870, whichever is less.
Compilations Daily says, so there is hope.
A lot of it, 43,000 housing solutions worth of hope, and growing, because as we continue to identify new partnerships with our developers and as the NHT continues to build out lands in its land bank, that number will always go up a little.
Question from Dana. If I own a company and I am the sole director, Can I use my NHT benefit if I purchase my home through my company?
Yes, but if it is that you are the sole owner and you're considered a director, we have a specific definition for that. But what she would be interested, would she has already purchased or she wants to purchase?
I don't know.
So if it is that
It sounds like
what
she
if-
wants to purchase.
Okay.
she wants to purchase, then yes, we have that provision. We have that provision in place. It's a little different because it has the legal ramifications, but we have done it and we can facilitate. So she just needs to speak to us and we can guide her on the process.
Another conversation for our compliance team. You can visit any of our branch offices and speak with our branch offices and speak with our compliance officer.
Yeah, she said already purchased. And then she said,
Okay.
I need a contact, please. Compliance officer.
Any branch.
Call and ask for a compliance
Every
officer.
parish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is from Ariel Radar Music. If I am already in the process of construction through the NHT, can I get the additional amount that is added to the new NHT loan limit?
No, unfortunately, because the trigger is disbursement. So for us, once we have a change in the loan ceiling, the trigger is disbursement. So once you have a disbursement, then unfortunately you would not be able to access up to the new loan limit. Yeah.
Because your loan would have been registered and all that
Already
already.
completed.
Right.
Okay, so you have to had applied by July after July 1? Or
Well,
even if you applied before July 1, you can still...
Right. So even if you apply
it's not dispersed yet.
and once it's not dispersed, then what we do, we have a process. So we would just cancel that loan and you are processed again. You go through the process of getting the new loan, new letter of commitment for the new amount.
Talking about construction and loopholes I was talking about earlier, right? So what safeguards does NHT have in place to ensure that money that you get is actually used for the purpose that you said it was going to be used for?
We have a very robust system. So once it is that you intend to construct, after your loan would have been registered, then it goes to what we call our construction and development department. And there you are assigned, each contributor, each beneficiary is assigned what we call a technical officer or a project officer. And the first step in that is you come with your plan, you sit with your technical officer, you sit with your project officer, and they look at your approved plan and they make a determination, because many persons come with a very lavish plan, a very big structure, but based on what they're getting, it may only be able to do a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. So we have that discussion, the technical officer has that discussion, and they now mark out where, based on the funds that you have, what it is that you can get as a habitable unit. And that project officer monitors the project. So you don't get, so if, for example, you have your own land, you come in with your approved plan and you can get $11 million, we don't just transfer the $11 million into the person's account at once. It is done in tranches. So it's monitored at every stage. Okay, foundation.
So somebody's going to go there and
the project
verify that you're doing it?
Right, goes, verifies to say, you said you were to put in the foundation. Okay, we gave you $1 million out of it to do it. Match it back. Was it done? Yes. We can move to the next one, up to window height. Yes. And then up to roof, put on your roof, finish fixtures. So it is monitored. We have a very robust system where the technical officer, monitors the project to ensure that you have a habitable space at the end of your construction.
Well, that's a lot of work.
You probably can elaborate on what we mean by habitable.
And then habitable mean it has windows, it has doors, it has roof, you have potable water, you have flooring, that sort of a thing. That's the basic thing that we consider. It's enclosed, it's secure, habitable.
So I can't apply for the $5 million home improvement plus the 2.5 million, exactly, plus the 2.5 million solar energy, green energy loan, 7.5, and then just buy a Hilux.
No.
Absolutely
not.
I don't know
Not
how much
work
a
like
Hilux
that.
costs.
What persons
But 5%
do,
interest rate, I mean, hey.
Yeah, you'll take the risk, but no. But what we want to guard against, though, is that sometimes persons go outside of the building plan and what they would have agreed to with the project officer. And so you realize that we'll say, okay, this is a habitable space right here that we're marking out. And when they get the first tranche, they put everything into the foundation. So when they should have just done a foundation for a 1-bedroom with a bathroom and a kitchen, they put everything into a foundation for 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you realize that now the project is either stalled or they can't, what you have cannot take you to a completed or habitable structure. But for the new policies now, we're extending grace. So we are trying to remedy that. So that is one of the reasons why we have looked at it and we're saying we have so many persons, but despite doing that, having an uninhabitable unit, we are now giving you the second option, another chance to complete a habitable structure that you can call home.
And because the reality of it too, Kalila, is that not many of these individuals probably sneak off some of the money and try buy a Hilux with it and therefore run into difficulties. But with some of the fluctuations that we saw, especially COVID, coming out of COVID, as it relates to the prices of construction material and inputs, that I remember my mom doing tiling, and she called me one day so frustrated because she bought the tile for X price last week, ran out, went back this week and was alarmed at how the price had changed significantly. So some of those price fluctuations would have impacted some projects not moving as quickly as they would. And so, you know, the bill of quantities which guides, you know, how much you want and what it costs. Some of those, the equations got thrown off somewhere along the way. And as Shara said, many ended up having exhausted the NHT funds and not having a habitable unit. So the NHT now will either give you a new loan facility up to the 11 million to construct it, or if it is a case where you're now retired, not able to take on a loan, that's where our special home grant of 3.5 million comes in to help you.
Okay. Question from Brown Sugar. If I live overseas and made contributions, am I able to benefit from these new changes?
Yes, you can. Our contributors overseas, once you stay up to date with those contributions, remember those are made monthly. Once you make those voluntary contributions, as we call them, on a monthly basis and maintain that, then you should be able to access any of these products you hear.
Key point once you maintain it.
Yes.
Because I know she said if I made contributions.
We always look at what we call current contributions in disbursing any of our loan products. For our local contributors, we're looking at the last 3 months, last 13 weeks. In the case of our PAYE contributors, with our self-employed, we're looking at the last 2 quarterly payments that they're up to date. And with our voluntary contributors overseas, we're looking at your payment pattern of those contributions over the last year. So you want to make sure you stay on top of those payments.
Okay. Kimnet wants to know, if I already received my NHT loan for housing, how long before I can apply for another NHT loan for land or solar panels?
She wouldn't be able to get it for land. After 7 years, she could get it for home improvement for that initial house, but definitely she can, and that 7 years too, if it is that she's not, so for her, she would have 2 options. After 7 years, she can access her 7+, that's what we call it, 7+, and she can use that for solar panel, or she could access
home improvement.
For home improvement, right? Yes. And she could also access the smart energy. Right, there's no wait time on the smart energy loan. There's no wait time for the smart energy loan. So she could actually come.
So that one immediately,
right? And then she can get it for solar panel.
Okay. Next question is from MSXPS. How are persons selected from the NHT scheme's application process?
Well, the NHT scheme application process, according to the Act, it looks at a couple of variables. It looks at how long the contributor has been contributing to the NHT. It looks at the parish, whether the individual live or work in the parish. And of course, it's going to look at the individual's income to ensure that they're able to afford the priced unit that the NHT has put on the market. So our electronic, totally automated system, not touched by humans, ranks all the applicants according to those variables that I indicate, and create a queue and we
Yeah.
go through from 1 to whatever and identify individuals. There are some special reservations that the NHT has for some categories of contributors as well, or young adults in particular. The NHT reserves at least 10% of the units in our NHT schemes
Young
for
adults is up to
individuals
what age?
under
35.
36.
Okay.
35 on some months, yes.
Yes,
Under 36.
Once you have not attained the age of 36.
Okay.
So, and at least 10% coming from where we were last year, or just before last year, where we were up to 10%. We're now at least 10% because we realize more young people are interested in home ownership. We also reserve units for persons with disabilities, and we also reserve units for our public sector workers.
Yeah.
Those are all the categories?
Yes, those are all the categories.
Yeah. So within the selection process, we do make those special reservations, but otherwise it's looking at those variables I indicated: how long you've been contributing, income, and whether you live or work in the parish.
That is an important question too, because there's a concern that the system favors older people. I saw a video today on TikTok with a guy complaining
myself.
that, oh, you saw it?
Saw it
The guy's
myself,
complaining now only old people can get to NHT posts, but you have to be 65 plus,
it is
because the longer you contribute, the more chance you get.
So we have solutions for that also. Dwayne would have indicated that we have our young adult population. So what we do is, well, the system, what it does is it will pull out those who are young adults, and you will be competing based on age group, age range, right? And within that minimum 10%, what we try to do now is, before you would have just been in one queue, and what we realize is that those who would have been older young adults, for want of a better terminology, those would have been the ones who would have been selected, because for the most part, they would have been contributing longer. But we have also revisited that, and we try to break it out in sections. So what we want to achieve is that we have a larger scheme development, and say we can reserve 16 housing solutions. So one person for each age, 20 to 35, should be selected within that large scheme. But for the most part, and now we have smaller groups, so the 10% or more is less. And so we have to break it out. So we break it out in segments, sometimes 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35. And we allocate one solution each for those income bands within the young group. So there is a greater spread. So you don't find that just persons at the older or the upper end who will benefit from that selection.
But there's also a catch-22 dealing with our elderly applicants, because the person pointed out in the video, he's like, all right, mortgages are usually 30 years.
Yes.
And if you're 75 years old getting an NHT property,
75, not realistic. We won't go to 75.
Or if you're 65 years old, you wouldn't pay that off till you're 95.
Okay.
And by then you're already retired, you might not have the same income.
The NHT tries to assist different types of contributors based off their different needs. And so for the contributor who is selected for an NHT scheme benefit at age 55, that individual on paper has 15 years to repay that loan, but that individual also has access to a set of what we call NHT enablers that you can use intergenerational mortgage. You could take that loan with someone who's younger who can assist with the payout when you get to a particular payout, making the monthly payments when you get to a particular age. We also have deferred mortgage financing, where you are calculated for what you earn now, and later on, as your circumstances change, we add on the others. But if I could put this discussion in a broader context, Kalila, if we look at why the NHT was created, let's go back to 1976, why the NHT was created. There were quite a few Jamaicans, especially public sector workers, who were retiring and not being able to own a home. And so the NHT, at its core, sought to assist low-income contributors, majority of whom were public sector workers, who were getting to retirement and not yet homeowners. And so if you look at the NHT's framework, you see the provisions for those individuals. We do understand next year we're 50 years, that the population has changed, the face of housing has changed, the needs of Jamaicans as it relates to housing has also changed, which is why we're able to discuss this evening a minimum 10% reservation of units for people 36 and under, because we do understand that while the NHT was set up to achieve a particular purpose in 1976, the NHT itself cannot be static. It has to evolve. And I know the policy change doesn't come necessarily as quick as some people would want, but we have to strike a balance that we don't end up with another problem where all the houses go to a particular category of contributors and another category starts crying foul.
Right.
So you see, we are trying to help the public sector workers. We're trying to help our older contributors who have worked 20, 30 years and have not yet been able to get a home. I got a letter today from someone who said, Mr. Berwick, what go on? Me a show me NHT from when? Like, what can go on for me? So it's a demand that is great for housing currently, and it's a demand that spreads across different categories of Jamaicans. And what the NHT is trying to do is to try and give everybody a touch, try to reach, and spread the benefit as wide as possible. Stretch ourselves thin sometimes perhaps, some would argue, but I crave some understanding that we're trying to balance a scenario where the demand for home ownership is at an all-time high, and believe it or not, the NHT, even in its resources, is also limited.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Next question is from the diplomat of the era. How long does it take to get a letter of commitment or a loan interview date?
Once you come in with all the documents, it should be days before you get to the loan interview, once everything is in order. And that's the emphasis, because sometimes the customer thinks everything is in order and they've submitted everything and truly they haven't.
And if perchance, if you happen to have everything and you walk into, we will facilitate you. If you have everything, all your documents, and you happen to walk in, we will facilitate.
Might have to wait, but you'll be facilitated.
Yes.
We will facilitate.
Check a number. All right, Ghost 876. If I already received an NHT loan, but I'm no longer a mortgagee, so I guess they paid off the loan, or maybe their name is not on title, and I'm not sure. No longer a mortgagee. Can I join with someone to purchase a home or land?
No. So once you are a mortgager, or you would have benefited, then you can't, you will not be able to get a new benefit for that purpose. What is extended to the person is a homeowner's loan, which is the 7+ now, to improve the property. We have instances, if it is that he's no longer the owner of the original mortgage property, then he can access that 5 million to assist to join with somebody to obtain a new property.
Okay, but not to purchase a home.
We're not in the business of multiple homes. We spoke about the demand and trying to help the first-time homeowner.
For first-time only.
Yes, yes. So that's always going to be the primary focus.
Okay, Kimar Henry wants to know, are there any upcoming schemes for St. Anne that is not for 2030, that's 5 years from now?
For St. Anne, I'm scratch my head. So
I guess he saw one for 2030.
None comes to mind, Kemar, sorry, but you can always check our website. We have a list of all the projects, but no St. Anne ones come into my mind currently. Sorry. So sorry.
Keshawn Headley has a question. Can I qualify for housing units or land supplied by NHT outside the parish I reside in?
It is live and work. So if you happen to work in the parish, then you are also in the first queue, because as Dwayne would have indicated, we queue you.
What if you work remotely and you can work from anywhere? So I'll just check wherever in the island you can give me a house.
Well, the burden of proof will be on you to indicate where you work. So if it is that you work remotely and your space is in that parish and that's where you work, then that's fine. But live and or work, that is the preference, live and or work. But then if it is that you apply, then you're in another queue. So if we go through we go to the first queue, the primary queue, and it is exhausted, and we still have solutions, because there are sometimes when persons who are selected initially, they are not able to take up the benefit then and that queue is exhausted, then we still go through the other queues until we assign the solution. So once you're in the queue, you will have a chance.
And generally, we indicate based off the scheme, because sometimes based on the number of housing solutions and having done our housing demand survey or site-specific survey for that particular development, we know what the take-up is likely to be. So based off those numbers, occasionally the NHT will extend it to an additional parish. For example, or the estuary in St. James, where we had, over 1,500 units, we were able to extend that to not just people in St. James, but people in Trelawney as well. So it's on a scheme by scheme basis, but most times it's just for the individuals who live or work in the parish based on the current demands that we're seeing.
We still have a lot of questions. I'm going to just try to get to as many as possible in
Rapid
the
response.
few minutes that we have left. So we have about 5 minutes left. So Compilations Daily wants to know, is it easier to get a loan to purchase land and build your home than to get a scheme house? LOL.
It's your choice.
But which one is easier?
Well, schemes are as they are available.
Schemes are very competitive.
And they are competitive, but they are also key as they are available. So don't sit and wait on the scheme. And if I'm going to get the scheme, when you have the land right there, you could just go ahead and start doing it.
So it's easier to get the construction loan.
Yeah.
Okay. Or land.
Safari. So we encourage persons to, look at all the options that we have. Just look at all of the options simultaneously, and whichever one works out first.
The scheme house is like the lotto. It's like you just have to wait, and like how long would you wait on winning the lotto? Basically, almost. I see your face. Okay, it's not as it's not 1 in a million. But it's 1 in a couple 100,000 probably.
But as I say, it's a strong demand, an all-time high for demand. So that's why we are also putting more, as I say, financing behind things like building, because those are also pathways to home ownership. Don't get tied up on, I want an NHT. I know there are benefits for the NHT scheme, 100% financing, no deposit. The benefits are there, but bear in mind as well that.
But what's the... Do you have the data? Like it's 1 in how much? Like 1 in how many applicants actually gets an NHT scheme home?
Wouldn't be able to tell you, because that varies from scheme to scheme. I don't think I've ever looked at cumulatively all the applications.
Because we know they're all oversubscribed.
And yes, they are. But Shara speaks about the queue and how we go through who apply and who is selected. The gag is, to use the kids' term nowadays, most times the individuals who are selected and printed in the paper don't turn out to be the actual homeowners. They are the ones who fall based off the selection system. That's where they fall. But many times there are individuals who are homeowners already who will tell you, but just apply to see if it makes sense. But just put in application to see if it really work. And so most times, we advertise a result, as we did yesterday for Union's Estate and there was another one, Catherine Estate. But in 3 months' time, having gone through the entire list, we may find out all of these people, either they don't want the unit, they have a house already, and we pick up somebody way down in the queue. So you never know.
I'd love to know that data though. Like, what are the odds really?
I don't want to fuel your lotto narrative.
Okay, next question comes from Safari Joe. Can the Smart Energy Loan Funds be used to import solar panel equipment?
We're not there yet. We're looking at you identifying a local supplier.
But Jamaica
who is
don't
able
make solar
to do
panels.
it. No, we don't. I guess that's why they say import. But then there are questions about duty, transportation. Remember, the NHT is making an investment into a security. You have to ensure that doesn't become compromised.
Kimar, no, I already asked a question from Kimar. Let me find somebody else, maybe 1 or 2 more. Shari Lee Reed, if an individual has never taken an NHT loan and has their parents' house to renovate, how much funds are available in this case? So they want to renovate their parents' house.
So once
using their benefit.
So once your name does not appear on the title, then you're non-homeowner's loan. And even though it would be improvement, you're entitled to the full would it be it depends on the level of the construction that you're doing too. So if it is that you are going to renovate, it could be up to the 9, it could be up to the 11, depending on what you're gonna do.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Come in and let's talk about it.
Yes.
So your parents wouldn't have to add you to the title to do that?
Yes.
Yes,
They would have to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. If I have, this is from Cal Brown, if I have a habitable structure that is unfinished, can I access the construction loan at the 8.5 million limit, or is there only home improvement loan allowed in that situation?
Unit is habitable, you want to access a new construction loan limit. If it's habitable, well, you would have satisfied the loan. I mean, if you have a compelling problem with the property, that's a different conversation we can talk about, see how we can help you. But you've accessed your benefit, you've used it for the purpose, it would just be the home improvement.
All right, last question I'm going to take is from Dana, and I'm picking this one because I remember you and I discussed this last time you were here. The NHT has taken back control over the loan application process. When I did my loan, the bank informed me that they will need to apply for the benefit on behalf of the contributor. So it's not a question, but a comment. And just explain that process for those who didn't see the first interview.
I think that references our external financing mortgage program. So that allows you to use your, well, in 2 instances, if you earn more than $30,000 per week, you can access your NHT mortgage at any of our partner mortgage institutions. Or if it is a case where you're buying a property that requires more than the NHT's loan limit, you can access your NHT loan through any of our mortgage partner institutions. If for whatever reason that process doesn't work out, the NHT is saying, come back to us, we will process your loan in-house. And no, there's a narrative that the NHT has given up on people. No, we spoke this evening about the 43,000 housing starts. It takes cash to be able to deliver on those. And that's where the external financing mortgage program comes in. It allows us to keep more cash in-house at the NHT to do this big construction that we're doing, the largest ever in the NHT's history. And so I just ask for a little understanding from our mortgagors who probably, would prefer not to. It's allowing us to be able to do a bigger goal as it relates to housing in Jamaica. But the underlying thing, if for any reason you go to your credit union, you go to your commercial bank, and you're not able to have your loan processed, just come back to the NHT. We'll process it in-house for you.
Okay, last one, because I just saw this and it caught my eye. From Samantha Rule, can NHT points be given or transferred to someone? If yes, what's required for the points to be transferred to facilitate a purchase along with an NHT loan?
So for that, you can't transfer your points.
It's not miles.
It's not, you can't transfer. So if it is that you are doing something on the open market, then you co-apply. The point system is more specific to our schemes. But we do have a transfer provision for schemes for parents who could access, apply, and then their points will, for want of a better word, push their offspring up in the queue. So because they would have been contributing for longer, they have greater points. So we use the parents' points in order to select the child. So if you want to call that transfer, then that transfer, we have a provision for that transfer.
Well, that's helpful.
Very, very helpful, very helpful. But if it is that you are considering something on the open market, then you can't transfer your points. You have to find a co-applicant, both of you come in, and you're processed for your loan based on your income, and we assess your affordability, and then we'll give you the financing for that.
Okay.
And parents can apply with children for open market purchases, not just our scheme units.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you both the final word. Dwayne, you want to go first?
You want to take that one? I'll leave that one for you.
Okay.
Give Shara the final word first.
Oh, so the final word is we have up to 98% financing. I don't think we had mentioned that one earlier.
No, we didn't.
So the 98% financing, if it is that you're in our 0%, meaning you're earning up to 30,000 weekly, and you have identified a property selling on the open market for 14 million or less, then we can give you up to 98% financing to help to purchase that property. right? So that's one of the big game changers, because why, you may ask, before it was 5%, and we realize that a lot of persons
95%.
95%, and we realize that a lot of our contributors have problems. They have challenges finding the deposit. That's a very
Right.
big deterrent. So now that we have reduced
Because
the amount that
privately,
you-
it's 95%
Mhm.
for
Right.
most places.
Right. So we are saying that have your 2%,
Or 90.
have your 2%, and then we will give you up to the 98% to help you towards your home ownership goals.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Dwayne, you ready for your last
My
word?
last word, if you listen to our conversation this evening, I think it speaks to the NHT providing a solution for different categories of individuals, wherever they are on that home ownership journey. Knowledge is power. I say this every time. Listen to conversations like these. Don't listen just to the noise and the chatter. Find out for yourself, what can the NHT do for me,
Right.
not what I hear the NHT
Did for
has
my
done for
neighbor.
somebody else. Everybody's situation is different. Knowledge is power again, and that power for the NHT starts with your eligibility letter. So we've discussed quite a few changes since July 1. If you have one already, you need to get it updated. If you don't have one, now is the time to put some power in your hands so you can start go shopping. Go to online.nht.gov.jm, get your eligibility letter, and reach out to us and have a conversation if you need more advice after that.
Happy to guide you through the process.
Well, thank you so much, Dwayne and Shara. It was great having you here to discuss all of these new policies, these changes, these updates, and also answering our viewers' questions. They still have more. Some of them complain that I didn't take them all, but we only have so much time, right?
Sure.
But thank you for joining us. Thanks to the Money Makers for tuning in on a Monday night. We appreciate your presence. Don't forget to follow NHT all over social media. And of course, follow myself at Kalila Money on social media, as well as Money Media JA on Instagram. I think Money Media JA is only on Instagram for right now. But yeah, that's it. Like and subscribe. I got to do what the kids say. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment down below. If you ever see the kids making their videos and saying that, it's so funny. And of course, let's get this money. See you tomorrow night for Taking Stock.
Sometimes all you want to do is get home.
Wagwan, my superhero son.
To the place where you feel safe, where it's all your own.
Hi, girl.
NHT, the key to your home, has home buyer and home builder loans to help